Hi, I'm Meg. Welcome to Plant Fit Meg. Welcome back to the channel. I recently watched Chef AJ's video about her lung cancer diagnosis. I'm sure many of you have already seen it and are familiar with Chef AJ. If you're not, I'll leave her video in the description box below, so definitely go check it out. After watching her video, I knew that I wanted to share my thoughts about it as a cancer survivor and as a fellow vegan, and honestly just show my support and love for Chef AJ. I've actually had the privilege of meeting Chef AJ in person at a conference. She signed her book for me, and I've also been on her live show, and I'll leave that linked below as well in case you want to check it out. On top of showing my love and support for Chef AJ, I don't know if she'll actually see this video, I also wanted to show my love and support for anyone else who is dealing with a cancer diagnosis or a difficult health challenge or chronic illness. As I mentioned, I'm a cancer survivor and have dealt with chronic illness as well, and so I wanted to share some themes that popped up in her video and talk about some things that she's doing, in my opinion, really well, that I really connected to and resonated with, and also share some things that she, in my opinion, is doing right that I didn't do right and that I sort of made a mistake with back in the day when I was going through my own cancer experience. I'm hoping that this video can give some hope and encouragement and ideas for people who are going through a hard time with their health, or for anyone who has a partner who's dealing with a hard health issue, or has family members, friends, anyone in their life who is dealing with a difficult health situation. I really appreciate Chef AJ for all of her work that she has done, but particularly with this video in being so honest and transparent. The video was difficult to watch in a way. Obviously, it's a sad situation that she has this lung cancer diagnosis, but it wasn't all sad. There was a lot of humor in the video as well, and lots of great insights and moments of beauty and hope in it as well. So the first theme and the first topic that I want to discuss is fear of judgment. And for Chef AJ, I think this seemed to be more around being a vegan and being someone who's eating a whole food plant-based diet and is in a public sphere and is a public figure and who might be judged quite harshly about a cancer diagnosis given her work. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Not that she's feeling that way at all, I understand that, but that anyone could turn around and give her a hard time about it, or blame a vegan diet, or blame something that she's done wrong to bring this upon herself. I love something that she said in the video. I'm going to quote her here. She said, "Veganism is 100% fatal because being human is 100% fatal. We are all going to die." And that might sound dark, but it is 100% accurate. None of us are getting out alive. We live life and we do our best to be as healthful as possible and reduce our risk as much as possible. People still get sick. Things happen. And there are so many different reasons for cancer. Obviously, nutrition is important and can reduce your risk or increase your risk in certain cases, but there are so many factors that play into getting cancer and having a cancer diagnosis. Obviously, genetics are a big component, and there are so many other factors involved in cancer developing and growing that it would be really practically impossible to pinpoint what the true cause is or how it came about. And I think speculating about that or dwelling on that is not helpful. It doesn't serve anybody. It certainly doesn't serve AJ, and it doesn't help anybody else either. So I wasn't online and I didn't have my YouTube channel when I was going through my cancer experience. However, I could really relate of the fear of judgment, or the fear of just telling people and how they would respond and how they would react, and almost feeling like I needed to protect them in some way, or to tell them in such a way that they wouldn't worry too much about me, or that I could try to tell them but have it sort of minimized in a way so that I wasn't sort of putting a burden on them or adding to their stress in their life, even though I was going through this really intense medical issue. I think as scary as it is to talk about your health and talk about your diagnoses and these things, I think it is important to share, especially with people who you trust and with people who can be supportive and be helpful through your journey. I found usually the fear of telling someone and sort of that anticipation before talking to someone about it was way more stressful and anxiety inducing than the actual conversations were, because people were full of love and support and encouragement and really trying to be as helpful as possible when I told them what was going on. For a lot of people, cancer is a very scary word, and it makes people fear the worst, and it is really scary and really concerning for people. But at the same time, it's not your job as a cancer patient to resolve people's feelings around your diagnosis. People are going to feel what they're going to feel, and you can't control that. Along with the fear of judgment of others is the fear and anxiety that comes with the diagnosis itself and coping with the illness itself. Thankfully for AJ, she doesn't seem to be experiencing many, if any, symptoms, and she's doing quite well in that way, so that's wonderful. For me, my situation was a little bit different, and I had a lot of physical signs and symptoms and issues. If you want to check out my video about my cancer experience, I will leave it linked up here or in the description box so you can check it out if you're interested. But with a cancer diagnosis, there is a lot of fear and a lot of unknowns and a lot of questions around doctors and treatment and who you're going to see and what you're going to do or not do, and how to cope with the diagnosis and how to do the best you can to get through it and to manage your way as best as possible. And not knowing whether you're going to be a cancer survivor at the end of it or whether the cancer will end your life is terrifying. I really related to Chef AJ's discussion about denial and about feeling like this can't be true, or I think I'm going to wake up from a dream, and that sense that this isn't quite right or isn't quite real, and having a lot of feelings and a lot of emotions and not really knowing what to do with them and sort of pushing them away and trying not to deal with them because it's too painful and it's too uncomfortable and it seems impossible to cope with all the feelings and all the emotions that come with it. It's really important to find safe spaces to open up and to discuss thoughts and feelings and emotions and process your feelings. This leads into the next theme and topic that I thought was really important, and that was support. And this is one of the things that I think AJ is doing really well, and I really applaud her that she has so much support around her. And it's something that I had a good support system, but I could have had more support and I didn't accept it at the time. So AJ has her husband, she has her dog Bailey, she has many friends, she has multiple therapists, and she's going to support groups so she can connect with others who are dealing with similar circumstances as her. When I went through my cancer experience, I had a good support system of my parents, my brothers, my then boyfriend, now husband, and a few choice friends who were around and who were supportive and helpful in that time. But I actively avoided therapy. I avoided support groups. I was already very much the odd one out within the cancer realm because being diagnosed with ovarian cancer at the age of 20 is highly unusual, very uncommon. Doctors were shocked. And so I didn't feel comfortable going into support groups because I felt like I would be very singled out and kind of put in the spotlight, and I would stand out immediately because I was so dramatically younger than everybody else. And I also just didn't think that I could relate to them in any way. I was in my second year of university. I just felt like these people are older than my parents. What are we going to talk about? And the only thing we'll have in common is the cancer. And at the time, it was sort of the last thing I wanted to talk about. And I just wanted to get through it and move on and just basically forget it ever happened. But in looking back on it, I really wish I had gone to support groups and had interacted with other people who were going through similar issues that I was, similar treatment, similar procedures, similar diagnoses, so that I could connect with people and not feel as alone as I did. Because it's very different speaking to your loved ones and loved ones that you're trying to protect as you share your experience versus speaking to people who are not your direct support system and who are experiencing what you're experiencing, and you have a different connection and a different relationship with them. And I have found connection myself in endometriosis support groups since that time. So I've learned that support groups can be really helpful and really just make you feel less alone. I also didn't go to therapy until later, beyond after my treatment was all done, and I had sort of just jumped back into life and back to school, back to my usual life, and things started to catch up to me, and I was really anxious and really depressed. And I went to the doctor, and they're like, well, you just had cancer, so that makes sense. So I really do wish that I had gone to therapy sooner and gotten some more support and some more help that way as well. So it's great that Chef AJ has so much support. Also recognizing that these feelings, any feelings that you have, aren't good or bad necessarily. They're feelings. They're going to come and go. They're going to pass. And if we shove them down and shove them away and try to ignore and deny their existence, they're just going to keep cropping up to the surface, and it's going to continue and probably escalate, and the anxiety and the stress will be worse for it. So listening to Dr. Lederman talk about how to sort of befriend the anxiety and connect with it in a different way and try to figure out what the message is and what the deeper meaning, and really listen to the messaging, I think is really important. A message I found really important from Dr. Lederman was about friends and family not necessarily asking how you are or trying to fix and solve things around you, but being there and holding space for you to feel what you feel, letting you know that all emotions are welcome in that space, and really just holding a safe container and a safe space for the person who's going through the diagnosis to really share and open up and not feel like they're being a burden or they're being needy or difficult. Another thing that came up in Chef AJ's video that really connected with me and I think is hugely important is humor. When you're going through such a difficult and dark and confusing time, humor can kind of go out the window. And I think it's so important to keep your humor. And I know that's always been really important to me in going through different health issues, and particularly with my cancer diagnosis. Just because you have cancer, it doesn't mean that laughter is not allowed anymore. And I think sometimes people feel a little uncomfortable interacting with you in the same way and connecting with you on the same level that they used to. Or if you make a dark joke, they don't know if they can laugh or they feel uncomfortable. And so I think humor is hugely important, and AJ spoke a lot about laughter being the best medicine and about her improv classes and how she made a whole stand-up comedy set about her cancer diagnosis, which I absolutely want to see. I hope that she puts it on Zoom or in a video or something. I would absolutely love to see that. I think it would be so funny and so interesting to see her perspective on a comedic level and to laugh along with her about her experience. She also asked people to text her jokes instead of asking, "How are you?" And I think that's beautiful and brilliant and so smart and so wise, because a lot of your day and a lot of your time can be caught up with doctor's appointments and this scan and that exam and this and what's next. It can be really overwhelming. So to have that break and to have those moments of humor can be so important and so helpful along the way. Another thing I found really important and really resonated with me from their video was about joy, and really finding joy everywhere, finding joy and simplicity in those little moments that you might have taken for granted before that are so meaningful now. Finding beauty in the little things, taking a step back and noticing things that do make you happy and do make you joyful. AJ mentioned just sitting with her dog Bailey or taking Bailey for a walk with her husband Charles. These little things that aren't so little after all. They make up a big component of who we are and what's important to us and how we find joy and find some healing there. Joy also doesn't go out the window just because of a cancer diagnosis. Cancer's hard. It sucks, it's difficult, it's challenging, and I absolutely don't want to dismiss that or downplay that. However, joy can be found in a lot of different places. I know for me, a lot of Seinfeld references and a lot of goofy, silly moments in my health adventures, if you want to call them that, over the years have been really helpful. And some sort of combining that humor and that joy and bringing it together and recognizing those moments and appreciating them and really enjoying them. I remember when I was going through my cancer experience and treatment and recovery, one of the nicest things that people did for me was go for walks with me. And so I really did relate to AJ on that, and my parents would go for walks with me, or my boyfriend at the time, now husband, Marsh, would go for walks with me. And it was such a simple thing, but it was so meaningful, and they were taking some time out of their day, and it got me outside and off the couch and out of bed and into the world, and it was really refreshing and really, really meaningful to me. And so if you're a supporter of someone who is dealing with chronic illness or dealing with a cancer diagnosis or some kind of health concern, I think really taking their lead is important and trying to find out what is important to them and what they need. And sometimes they don't know how to vocalize what they need or what is important to them. I know when I was going through it, I was a bit of a mess, and I just didn't fully know what I needed, or I knew I needed to talk to someone sometimes and have a chat about things, but other times I couldn't fully pin it down and couldn't fully recognize what I needed. I knew humor was always important. I saw my dad go through his cancer journey before I went through mine, and he went through it with lots of humor and grace, and so I sort of followed his lead, and I knew that humor would be an important component. But beyond that, I didn't recognize things like walks or things like my parents prepping me meals, my mom mostly prepping me meals, and things like that would be so meaningful at the time. And so showing up and helping out in ways that will be helpful to the person that you are dealing with, and being really open to helping them in whatever way will be really supportive and really helpful for them. Maybe it's cooking them a meal, bringing them a casserole. Maybe it's just sitting and just holding that space for them to just talk or cry or laugh or just have a moment with your friend who, although is a cancer patient or is someone dealing with a chronic illness, is still that person that you've always been friends with and who you want to stay connected to and help out in this difficult time. Another big topic that came up was examining and re-examining your life now that you're dealing with cancer and you have this diagnosis, and finding deeper meaning in it and really asking yourself those difficult questions. Are you living your life for you? And are you living it in the way you want to live it? And asking those questions and getting those answers for yourself and taking action accordingly. And I think Chef AJ is doing this beautifully by taking all her improv classes and by trying to have experiences with her friends, like going to escape rooms and doing different activities and keeping her humor, appreciating the joy in the little things. Certain things start to seem less important and less significant. Things that maybe in the past seemed like a big deal and really dramatic and important just seem like not important anymore. Having cancer and having different health conditions really gives you a completely different perspective on life, and it allows you to look at things in a new way and make different decisions for yourself for your life. It can make you braver in certain ways to do things that you've always wanted to do but have been afraid of, and now it might be your last chance, and it's go time. Someday is now. Someday is not someday in the future, or when XYZ happens and the stars align. Someday is now. So get going, do your best to live your life in the best way possible that makes you happy and that brings you joy. I'm wishing Chef AJ all the best on her journey. I have no idea what she's going to do in terms of treatment and things like that, regardless of what she chooses. I'm hoping that she knows that the plant-based and vegan community are behind her and supportive of her and are wishing her all the best on her journey. Definitely go check out Chef AJ's video. Again, I will link it below if you haven't seen it already. Even if you have seen it, perhaps watch it again just to show support maybe leave a comment if you haven't already, or leave another comment, leave a like on her video. Things like this can be great ways to show support and engagement, and are little ways of showing support and helping her out. I hope you enjoyed my video. If you liked it, give it a like. Leave a comment below letting me know your thoughts. In the words of Chef AJ, live your life for today with joy. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.